This is Nostrovini, about to report on the biggest day of boxing in my history. Uh, Three main cards this past weekend, and I'm gonna do the results. This is a little bit of experiment. I'm gonna do 25 fights. Nostrovini had a lot of bets on these fights. I was writing most of them, just about. But I'm a perfectionist. I like to be right all the time, 100%. But sometimes fate robs you. Well, I'm all ready. I got my glasses so I can actually see what I'm looking at, but I will take them off because my eyes are my best attribute. I'm wearing my birthday um birthday um present shirt that I got for my birthday, my 23rd, my 63rd birthday. In case you think it's culturally appropriating, it's okay. It was given by my Jamaican aide. And if you want to fight about that, you could just deal with Carla. Carla's about this big, 5'2", a fury. And I wouldn't mess with her. I don't mess with her at all. She's a very nice lady. Anyway, this is, let's see, what card should I begin with? I will begin with the main card, and I will do experiment. My experiment is to do the card from the bottom up to the main event. Usually they go from main event to bottom of the card. I'm not going to do that. You know why? Because I'm a rebel. Anyway, first fight that they had was Money Kicks, Rashida Bashira against Kelly Pavizic. This was a very strange fight. Money Kicks is a YouTube player, son of a billionaire in Saudi Arabia. I know I'm mispronouncing Saudi Arabia, but bear with me. I can never, nuclear, I can't pronounce that either. Certain words I can't pronounce, okay? And with these countries, anyway, in the foreign lands. Anyway, it was a four-rounder, pro debut for both of them. Actually, the guy that Money Kicks was fighting had a losing record, and it was basically a battle of two people who could not fight that well. I believe if in my younger days I could have taken either one of them. I think most athletic women could take either one of them, but there has to be a winner and a loser in every fight. Well, they went back and forth, missing punches, but the Eastern European guy from, I believe, Bulgaria didn't go with the script. He didn't know he was supposed to lose. And he won the fight by split decision, which wasn't announced on the TV. I think Money Kick's multi-billionaire father had something to do with that. Very strange. Money Kicks lost, but he's still a playboy in Saudi Arabia. What happened to Bulgarian, we don't know. We hope for the best. Anyway, then after that, there was Ben Whitaker from England against Peter Nuzik. This was a good fight. Nuzik was aggressive. They had fought in the amateurs. Ben is quite the character. He's tall. He's a good boxer, good puncher. It was his second pro fight. A lot of people thought that Peter would, who was from Croatia, some situation like that, would lose and get KO'd. But he had a good record. He had 3 victories with 3 KOs, and he put up a good fight. He lost almost every round, but he did not disgrace himself. And Ben did not get the KO. Ben was actually, for second pro fight, pretty good matchup. The English, they match up their fighters with credible opponents early in their career. Anyway, let's see. What's the next one? Ziad Amagov against Jos Almerteva. Mexico versus Saudi Arabia by way of Brooklyn, because the guy who lived, Ziad, had lived in the United States a little bit. Quite the personality Ziad has. He's very good. He almost got himself knocked out by the Mexican. The Mexican was wild. He came in with aggression. At first he looked a little shy, but he wasn't shy. He was aggressive, but his awkward punches, he almost He almost knocked out Zod, but Zod come back to knock him out. And I think with the personality, I'm gonna ignore that phone call. I'm gonna ignore it. I got a job to do. But leave me alone. Oh, anyway. Anyway, I am just gonna go on and ignore. I'm going to ignore. No, no. My friend Eve is calling just at the wrong time. Anyway, um, Zayed came back from the near KO to KO his opponent, and in a spectacular fashion. He has a long way to go. We don't know about his chin. Don't know about that chin. Anyway, Daniel Lipin against outpointed Joseph Jara. Now this was a fight where it was this ponytail Ukrainian who was like a light heavyweight, I believe, or a middleweight. I'm not sure. My mind fogs sometimes. 6'6", a very good boxer, very stand up kind of boxer. Doesn't go to the body. Well, why should he? He's 8 feet tall. He was fighting a rugged looking guy with a beard and who was really trying to win. But and a fairly good knockout record, with good wins and all that stuff. But the Ukrainian was too good, just too stylish and too tall. Oh, if he learns a little bit more and gets a little pop in his punches, I think he can go far. Okay, this was a Nostrovini, uh, right on the money prediction. Now so far all my picks have won, except I had money kicks winning originally, which he did not. Because I thought, look, the billionaire's son is not going to lose in Saudi Arabian billionaire, but you know, he lost. Anyway, going back to my thing, um, Andrew Talbot against James Watson. Now this was James Watson was sort of a very powerful, much bigger in terms of weight than Andrew, but Andrew was a professional boxer and had an amateur career and has been boxing all his life. Um, Wilson goes between MMA, kickboxing, and boxing. Well, what would you say, master, a jack of all trades, master of none, very powerful. But I had this, I've seen it played out so many times. Usually the kickboxer can't take the boxer's punches, the sustained blows, because what happens is, and you say, why is that? It's because MMA fighters and kickboxers are pretty tough, but the thing is, they're used to not taking punches with full leverage, because what happens is when you kickbox or you MMA, your punches are far in between, and you can't really get your footing that well because you might be taken down by, in different ways, in terms of grappling and in terms of getting kicked in the head. Anyway, he gets knocked out in 5. The exact round that I thought he was going to get knocked out. Although technically he didn't come out for the 6th. It was a good fight, and very interesting fight. But the Talbot dominated, and he had gone for the title very fast. It was a fight fought at heavyweight. But Talbot was a natural bridgeweight or cruiserweight or whatever the hell they're saying right now. But it's actually, in the other times he'd be a heavyweight. He was in 205 or something, as opposed to Wilson's like 240 or something. But a man that size can knock on the big man. That was proven all this weekend. The little good man, or relatively little man, can beat the big man. Anyway, that's further up in this evaluation. Ramila Ali outpointed Crystal Nova Garcia. I was right again, but not in the way I thought. I thought Ali, who was a beautiful woman, exotic princess of Arabia, would outpoint. Well, actually, she's from England, but eventually she was back from Arabia at one point. I thought that she would outpoint because she was an Olympian, but she had no knockouts. Well, she KO'd Crystal, but Crystal had not had any good opposition. She had a great record, lots of KOs, but if you're KOing your sister-in-law, it don't count. Anyway, she knocked her out and won, and the other girl didn't want to get up. Didn't want to get up. Okay, now we're going into Callum Smith versus Mert. Give me glasses. I'm half blind here. Matthew Pendraga. Pendigala. Pendigala. It's a French word. I can't pronounce it. I can barely pronounce my own name. Pengela. Anyway, I had this fight originally. My Nostrovini prediction was that Smith, who's a very good fighter, overall great, good overall performer, would wear down the Frenchman, who's a good boxer, and knock him out in 9. Didn't work out that way, and I thought the Frenchman would be mostly defensive. Didn't work out that way. The Frenchman, Mathieu, let's just say Mathieu, because I can pronounce his first name. Mathieu fought an aggressive fight, even stunned Callum at certain points. But Callum, who's 6'4", and a light heavyweight at this time before he was a super middleweight, he kept on coming, working the body. Big man, tall man, working that body, and he got him. He got him in the second, not second round, fourth round, I believe. Very good fight. Very action packed. Frenchman did the Frenchies, the frogs proud. Anyway, the next fight is Philippe Hazovic against Zuyi Zhang. These are giants. Is I believe a Croatian giant against a Chinese giant, straight from the Mongolian hills or wherever giant Chinese come from. This was one of the best heavyweight fights I ever saw. I had predicted that Philippe would knock the Chinese fighter out in 5 because both have great power. But I thought Philippe was a little faster, a little better opposition overall, and he'd get to the Chinese fighter before the Chinese fighter got to him. Well, these men surprised me. They went the 12-round distance, and it was a war. And Philippe got hurt a lot of times by his Chinese opponent. But they kept on taking turns hurting each other. Overall, it looked like the Chinese fighter, Zing, took a better shot and it was hitting better shots. But Philippe was hitting more shots, and it was a wild fight. Very close decision. Philippe managed to outwork Zing towards the end of the fight. Zing, big man, both 6'6" fighters, but Zing is nearly 300 pounds, mostly muscle. He's not fat. He's a little bit punchy, but his stamina didn't quite hold up, and he was out hustled by Philippe. But right to the end, and Philippe won on points, but it was a split decision, rightly so. It could have gone either way. So far, let's see. Okay, now Anthony Joshua versus Olcevic Usyk. This is where I went wrong. In my Nostrovini prediction, had Anthony Joshua being behind on points, but working the body and eventually roughing up Usyk and knocking him out in 11. Well, it almost happened in the 10th or the 9th. Just as I had said, Joshua was fighting a very good fight, working the body, imposing himself on the Ukrainian, but the Ukrainian genius rose to the occasion and swept the last few rounds and was stunning the big Englishman. And it ended up happening that Usyk won a split decision, but really, rightfully, he should have won the whole decision. He just worked. He's a genius. He's probably one of the best pure boxers since I don't know who, Muhammad Ali. I'm not saying he's Muhammad Ali, but he would have given Ali a little trouble. And he's not a small man. They keep on saying how small he is. He's 6'4", 6'3", 220. That's not small to me. That's not small. That's ridiculous. You don't have to be 6'7" to be a champ and a good fighter, and you can take on the big boys, which and taking on the 245, 6'6", Joshua, he did. Now Joshua went Looney Tunes at the end of the fight. He had lost. He was all over the place. He took the belts and threw them down, and he gave Usyk, who's such a nice guy. Wild Eye crazy looking at. Like I have something to say about Wild Eyes, right? Anyway, very strange. I can't even go into it. You look at it on YouTube, and he apologized later on. He was very emotional, and he was talking crazy talk. But it was a close fight. He was exhausted, and he's a very emotional man. He's a very positive man, but at the same time very emotional, and he put his all into it, and he still came up short. Okay. Now I'm going to take this. It's actually a paper that I have there. My good friend Eva, who just called me and interrupted the Nostri Rini broadcast, she wants me to look at the camera. And I did. Okay. And now, all right, here we go. Now, our next, bear with me. I'm going to, oh no, I'm going to put this here. Let's see. I know this is unprofessional, but the hell? What am I? I'm getting paid for this? Anyway, this is another card that was on. Well, it doesn't matter now because it's been on television already. It was on Showtime, and same night as the big fight from Saudi Arabia. Now the first fight on this was Fyodor Kinzigurszin against Gilbert Vergensis. I was watching two cards at the same time. Can you imagine me trying to do that? Trying to pay attention? Well, anyway, Theodore eventually he gave a beating to Gilbert, but Gilbert was game. Gilbert, Theodore, is one of those Eastern European fighters. I believe, God knows from where he is. I can't even, but it's somewhere in the east, right? Probably Polish or Ukrainian or God knows what, Russian, who knows? Anyway, Gilbert was from the good old USA, and usually I'm USA, but I kind of knew in my heart of hearts that the Theodore probably had an incredible amateur record. He's a stylish boxer. Gilbert was more of a rough-edged boxer brawler. Theodore just gave him a beating after a while, and they stopped the fight. Good fight, good prospect, good opponent. Now, another fight that was on this card was Leonor Peru against Joel Panzadel. Let's see how this is going. I thought it would go 5, but actually, when I looked at, I actually researched this a little bit. No, it's going to go earlier because these Cubans are amazing. It's a Cuban heavyweight. I had seen him fight before. Incredible power, incredible technique. Knocked the other guy out and won. The other guy was a little pudgy. Had gone the distance with a bunch, but he was no match for the Cuban. 1-round knockout. So far I'm right because my predictions are coming true. Not in the exact rounds I thought. Next fight, Brandon Lee against Will Madrara. Now I had seen Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee is the sort of a phenomenon. He's an American Chinese fighter. Uh, Not that many American Chinese fighters. Usually, mommy doesn't want her kid to go into such a rough sport as boxing. So it's not like you don't have. I think the last Chinese fighter I know wasn't full Chinese. It was Tony Lagata, who was a great fighter, fought Carlos Monzon way back in the day when Nostra Vini was a little Nostra. Anyway, um, Brandon Lee, this surprised me because Brandon Lee is very tall. He's about 5'9", junior welterweight, I believe, or welterweight. Um, and a big boxer puncher, big puncher. I think in 25 fights, 24 fights, 22 knockouts. Um, and he has all the skills. And Will Madrasa, I had seen him. He looked good, but he's shorter. So seems trickier. I thought, oh, he's going to get knocked out in like 5. Well, no, 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 no. In fact, he almost knocked out Lee. Almost knocked out Lee silly. Hit him with a big shot. Lee goes down like a ton of bricks. And then he gets up a drunken Chinese guy. And he comes back, he recovers. And he starts out boxing Will, who's getting cut up, chopped up by Brandon Lee. But and he won a comfortable decision. Not comfortable because the other guy, Will, was giving him a good fight, but Brandon was always a step ahead, and he showed he could box, and he showed he could come from behind from adversity. I'm not sure about his chin, because Will is a good puncher, but he's a good puncher. He's not a devastating puncher. What happens when Brandon Lee faces a devastating puncher? Don't know. Don't know. But Brandon is young. He's not even 21 or 22 maybe. So his chin may improve. And also you never know. Muhammad Ali was floored by Henry Cooper, but survived, who was 188 pounds, good left hook. But let's see, Sonny Liston couldn't floor Ali, and I don't think anybody floored Ali till Joe Frazier. Anyway, ooh, Roger. Oh, let's see. What's my prediction? Roger Gartier, Gartier, Gartier versus Hector Garcia. Okay. Sometimes I'm a wrong person. Hector, who is from the Dominican Republic and gave the Dominican Republic proud, for the most part, dominated Roger. Roger seemed a little flat. He was, and then he started turning on later in the fight, but he never caught up to Hector. Roger was just, he's a good fighter, but he wasn't, he was being outboxed, and he was outboxed for the most part until the end of the fight. Then it got a little interesting. But Hector was still too far ahead, and they and he went fair and square. And Nostrovini was wrong, because I had Roger beating Hector in my classinations. I blame myself for this. I blame myself because I didn't research enough. Research enough. Anyway, and if I had seen that Hector was an Olympian and blah 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 blah. Anyway, and trained by the Cubans. Cubans very good trainers. Bitre Ekabda against Alberto Peloro. Now this was a very good fight. Bitrin is a descendant. He's from Turkey, but he looks like a descendant of a Mongol warrior from the steppes of Mongolia. Eurasian, what you call your basic Eurasian or Asian, against Hello, who is a long, very tall, very weedy. This was a great fight. Alberto outboxed the Turk for a lot of the rounds, and then the Turk came back with a body assault, which you never seen, and the two went to the body, and it went down to the wire. I thought that the Batura, uh, uh, should have won. I thought he came back strong, but they gave it to the Dominican, and the Dominican, it was so funny because he didn't know English, but apparently there had been insults going with the Turks camp, and he's going, yeah, no, and he's going like this, and he's doing it in a different language. I always I'm surprised when guys like look angry when they've actually won. Where you think I won, it's like they're pissed off. I don't understand it. If I win a fight, I'm happy. I'm a happy person. I'm like, yay, I won! What a miracle! Anyway, um, now we came to Sergey Lipidit against Omar Figueroa. This was an interesting fight. Figueroa tried his best. A little sharp won. Both these fighters were coming off um, losses and a long layoff, and it was a battle of who had so much left. Figueroa did not have enough left. He was suffering, I believe, from both physical and mental drainage. He's been fighting forever. And he was fighting a guy who had a lot more left. In fact, I don't think he's lost anything. Sergey it was is at full throttle, and he gave Omar quite the beating. And Omar's father did not let Omar out for the ninth round or the eighth round, and they stopped the fight justifiably because he was trying right to the end, but he was taking too much punishment, and with not much hope that he could come up with a big punch to turn things around. This was a good fight. Okay, and a little sad because the Omar has fought all his life in boxing, and but sometimes it's time to hang up the saddle. Okay, now let's see. Okay, I'm almost. Let's see what we can do. Okay, moving this here, here. Um, 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 this and we're starting from the bottom of the card and working our way up. I want some comments if I should start from the top. I'm working my way down. I want to do a little different. Okay. Let's see. Austin Brook versus Oliver Garcia. Anyway, Austin is a very good, sort of like a tiny little Gene Tunney. Not much of a punch. At least he didn't seem to have a bunch of a punch until he was fighting this fight, in which he was fighting a very tough fighter in Oliver, and really staggering him with great shots. I think Austin could develop a punch, and if he does, he's going to be quite something to handle. Little blonde hair, blue-eyed. You can see him getting a big following. Because he's very stylish, and he's an American, and he doesn't have much of an amateur. He's sort of his trainer says he's a really good fighter. The era of the white hope is gone. It's not like it used to be when you didn't have any quality white fighters for a little while, and if a white guy could throw a punch, it was like, oh my, our hopes and all that stuff. Right now, with all the Eastern Europeans and the more Americans of all persuasions fighting it, that ever is not there. It's different. It's a very different world than when I grew up many years ago. Anyway, Xavier Martinez against Enduro Guerrero. Okay. Xavier This went the way I thought. I had watched both of them fight. Um, Xavier, very good fighter, very fast, very clever. Um, the Guerrero was a good fighter too, but not with the speed and the natural abilities of Xavier Martinez. I believe, if memory serves me right, this fight ended via the KO. Um, that was a very good fight. Um, and I was right. I'm gonna, yeah, I could go over all these fights, but I think most of the fights I was right. Um, let's see. Omar Agoyes versus Alfredo Durango. Now, this was one of my worst defeats because actually I saw both fighters. Um, Durango was an Olympian fighting a baby-faced assassin in Omar. Um, Omar, very handsome guy with almost all knockouts. But the pedigree of the Olympians showed out. It was a brutal fight. You'd think with both of them have almost all knockouts, you would think that it would end in knockouts. But you're talking Mexicans, you're talking durability, you're talking guts. This went the full route. But Alfredo was a little too classy, was and he even though Omar almost out hustled him at times, Alfredo really hurt him more, cut him up, and eventually was a little too stylish. A little that Olympian pedigree is something. Um, I thought that it wouldn't matter. I thought that my prediction was um that Alfredo was a little too stiff, but he's not. He's not stiff. He's clever, and he wasn't busy. Wouldn't be busy enough. And plus, the other guy was this handsome baby face, and I said, they're not going to take chances with babyface. Babyface is going to win. Babyface didn't win, but it was, both came out with kudos. Babyface got to learn to duck a little bit, so or you won't have the babyface, handsome face, cutie pie face anymore. Now, Giovanni Santillana against Julio Lana. This is another fight where I was gonna have Giovanni win. I thought by KO. It didn't go that way. It was a very close fight, nip and tuck. Mexican against I think a Mexican Italian. What a mix there. Let's see. This fight ended by decision. It was a very close decision. Giovanni won. He out hustled him, but it was not that easy. Okay. Nico Ali Welsh. This is a fight that ended with Ali winning, but I didn't think he was going to win the way he was. I thought it would be a decision again, but Welsh, Ali, he came back, not because the fight was close, the first fight, and you could even give with that his opponent, Lana, Riaz Sanchez would win. Had won the first fight. He got knocked down by Ali in one round. Wow. Ali's improving. I think he's the real thing. Genetics, my friend. Okay. Manuel Narada against Elderio Diaz. Now this looked like that Narada. I had him winning too, in my prediction. But Diaz, let's see, he outboxed. He was outclassing. Nirvana doesn't have the best diet. He came in a little sort of bloated, a little pudgy and stuff, and it was lethargic. But then after losing every round up into the sixth, he comes with a body shot, one of those Mexican dude body shots to the liver, knocks out Diaz. Wow. But Emmanuel is working on borrowed time. If he keeps on not having his dietetic habits healthy. Than me telling somebody how to have a dietetic habit. I know I got some nerve. I got some nerve. Anyway, there's some more predictions. I didn't say to there was another, let me see. This is from the bottom of the card, but I didn't choose that because I'm confused. Okay, let's see. Antonio Mercurlis knocked Macias, a 6'7" Mexican fighter, knocked out Keelan Carter in 2 rounds, but had been floored for the first time in his career by Keelan, who was a former MMA fighter, and is much smaller. If I got the right Keelan Carter on my YouTube expeditions to find out who's fighting who. I don't know. Sometimes you get floored. I don't know this, but I've seen Antonio fight before. He's a good boxer, stand-up boxer, good body puncher, as all Mexicans, no matter what the height of them seem to be. Luis Alberto Lopez against Houston Vargas. This was a layup. Alberto has a very good record. He's a top 10, and I think the #1 contender. They had him fighting a guy who gets knocked out fairly frequently. Not that good a draw. Was a prospect at one point, but he's more a prospect to get knocked out. He got knocked down too. Okay. Now here on the one again, Michael Contreras and a dog, or caveman, was fighting Joseph Ruiz. It was a good fight. Ruiz, I thought, was going to win the fight because he's more experienced, and I thought that Contreras lacked a big punch, which Ruiz had a good punch, and I thought he lacked a good defense, but he actually was much more clever, and not much more clever. It was a very good fight, but Miguel seemed to be a little bit ahead of the game all the time. Okay, now we're going to do a little count up. I hope I haven't kept you, on the, let's see, how many fights were there, and how many fights was I right in? And one more fight. Bandura Semerin fought Ferig Turavidia. Bandura is from it was what they call well, they still in a fight if all fights are being won by early knockout. He's a Jordanian. He's a very good fighter. He was fighting an Afghani who put up a good fight. He was outclassed, and eventually, I believe he got knocked down. I think they stopped the fight. But the Middle East is there's some good fighters coming in there. Anyway, let's see. My picks. 11 fights. I was right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and out of 11 fights, I was right. Actually, out of 12 fights, because I actually forgot Popeye Rivera was outpointed by Voodoo Jack. I thought Voodoo Jack was going to be too sharp warmed. Voodoo has a few things in the gas tank. And Popeye, who comes in with a Popeye thing, he's a Puerto Rican Popeye. And he comes in with his he was sailor outfit, a good fighter, but didn't have as much, and a busy fighter, but didn't have enough experience and enough firepower to keep Voodoo out. I don't know how good Voodoo's going to do in the coming years. Let's see. I'm not gonna answer that phone. Not gonna answer that phone. Anyway, that was out of, I don't know the math. You know, I'm not gonna do the math. Out of most fights, I was wrong in about 4 fights out of like 24. I think that's pretty good, but I wanted to be, um, ugly. Okay. Anyway, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I wasn't running too long, but this was a big, a card. And if you're interested in all the little minor fights as well as the big ones, maybe you're interested too, and you could be my little cult follower. Okay. This is Nostradini. Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn this off and see. No, am I photogenic or just handsome? Anyway, because I think I look good. 63 years old, not bad. I'll lose a little. And boom. Bye.